From being unranked to amongst the AP top 10 of college football, Arizona makes history after another huge upset over Oregon. We'll have reactions and preview Saturday's family weekend game against USC. Arizona Basketball Media Day was Friday, where we got to get up close and personal with several Wildcats. We'll hear from head coach Sean Miller, as well as TJ McConnell, Kaleb Tarczewski, and Gabe York. The Wildcats soccer team picked up a couple wins last week. Reporter Jake Kavanaugh highlights that later on in the show. And with a chance for a national audience on ESPN3, Wildcat hockey stunned Liberty in a shootout on Saturday. Captain Shane Gleason joins the program to relive an epic weekend on the ice. All this and more coming up on UATV Channel 3 Sports. Hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Channel 3 Sports. With Arizona Club Sports broadcaster Nick Nolenberger and Zoe Wolkowitz of the Arizona Daily Wildcat, I'm your host, Joey Petrello. It seems every single season, college football fans take a look at Arizona's schedule and immediately check off a loss to Oregon even months before the game is played. And perhaps that's not totally unfair. The Ducks have been a staple in the elite category for close to a decade now, while the Wildcats have fought to remain nationally relevant since the 1990s. Coming into Thursday night, then unranked Arizona was a clear underdog on the road against a previously second-ranked Oregon program that already had a win over a top 10 team under its belt. Nick Wilson scored 3 touchdowns, while Terrace Jones-Grigsby earned his first career triple-digit rushing effort with a score, and Arizona pulled off a 31-24 Cinderella win in Autzen Stadium. So Zoe, I want you to explain the unexplainable to me. How did Arizona's defense play so well against an Oregon Duck offense that is just one of the best in the country? The Wildcats even held the Ducks to 4 of 14 on third down, and that was, I believe, 1 of 5 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, if anyone who was watching saw, the D-line just played unbelievable. They kept Marcus Mariota, who's a Heisman hopeful, to only 1 yard on 9 carries. And the linebackers in general also did a great job at plugging the holes. So it gave people like Scooby Wright and Pitanto good jobs, and opened up so many opportunities. And as we saw, anyone who watched the strip and the sack that Scooby Wright got was not just the play of the game, but also kind of won us the game,
I mean, you got to give so much credit to that defense. They were able to mix it up throughout the game. They had, they were able to blitz at times, make it hard on the Heisman hopeful Mariota. But it had to do a lot with that Oregon offensive line. We knew coming into the game that was going to be an opportunity for Arizona's D to at least try to stay with Oregon. Was how bad that offensive line. It's a completely depleted unit, that Oregon offensive line, and Arizona took advantage of it. Very clean game on both sides, but Arizona was able to force a couple turnovers, and like Zoe mentioned, that big one at the end of the game when Scooby was able to strip the ball away from Mariota and really seal the victory for Arizona.
Well, improving to a perfect 5-0, the Wildcats are off to their best start to a season since 1998. They also made history going from unranked to number 10 in the nation, making the largest jump in AP poll history. But that came with some help from other teams around the college football world. On Saturday, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Southern California, and Brigham Young were all upset by teams of a lower rank. Now the AP Top 10 looks as follows. The defending national champion, Florida State, remains at the top after a 40-point blowout of Wake Forest. Auburn jumps to number 2, replacing Oregon. The AP likes Mississippi State and Ole Miss both at number 3, while Texas Christian and Arizona leapfrog a generous 16 spots each to 9 and 10 respectively. Nick, I also need you to explain the unexplainable to me. It's week 6 of the season, and not only are the Wildcats number 10 in the AP poll, they are the highest ranked team in the entire Pac-12. But are they as good as the AP says they are?
I mean, you got to win the games on your schedule, and what a wild weekend. And with that many top 25 teams losing, the AP had no option except to bump Arizona all the way up to 10. I mean, you look at the teams they beat. Oregon, Cal's unranked, but Oregon's the big one. At number 2, they're going to drop all the way down to, I believe they're at number 12. But Arizona had to do it. With all the losses, there was no question about it. What a big win for Arizona. Very unexpected, but I mean, you beat who's on your schedule. Arizona's done a wonderful job, 5-0.
Arizona itself is also one of 10 teams in the country who is still undefeated. So that by itself, should be something where they should be, ranked in the top 25. But it's also really cool that Arizona is the first team since 1989, since the poll was changed to 25 teams, that a team has jumped from not ranked to all the way ranked, and not even just ranked, but in the top 10. So I think Arizona did a really good job, and it shows that we're more than a basketball school. We can also play football.
Well, I think a good point to make, Zoe, sorry to cut you off, but is that Arizona is the only undefeated team left in the Pac-12. In a conference, everybody's trying to see if there's a conference as good as the SEC, and it looks like it's coming in the season. They were saying, well, Pac-12's got good enough quarterbacks to maybe be better than the SEC. And so far, the AP has honored that because, Arizona's the only undefeated team, a very balanced conference, and Arizona's undefeated, so they're honoring them, and that's why they have that top 10 rank.
Yeah, Arizona hasn't even been ranked in the top 10 since 1998. So this not only looks good on our school, but it shows our program has, worked its way up, and definitely shows because Oregon and Arizona both went into the game undefeated, and one came out, and that was us. So it was really great to see.
Well, Arizona's opponent this weekend is the no longer ranked USC Trojans after a devastating loss to ASU on a Hail Mary, doing their best Austin Hill impersonation. Steve Sarkisian, the head coach of the Trojans, travels to Tucson, arguably having a must-win game if USC wants to remain relevant and stay in that conversation for winning the conference. So if you're Rich Rodriguez, USC is going to be firing at you on all cylinders. This is desperation time. What's your game plan?
Well, it's going to be interesting because Arizona is ranked number 10 in the country, but Vegas is still saying they're the underdog in the football game. So it's going to be a tough matchup. USC has a chip on their shoulder, but they have talented players. They still have the sanctions, so they're still struggling to have that depth, and I think that's where they continue to lose these tight football games. They had to go back east to play Boston College. They lost that football game, then lost a heartbreaker to ASU, obviously. But, they got a chip on their shoulders, and Arizona's got to, I think Rich Rodriguez said it this week, it's okay to have the poison in your mouth as long as you don't swallow it. So Arizona's got to try to stay humble, have that same fight that they had against Oregon, because USC is coming for them.
Yeah, well, Rich Rod is kind of like the godfather of a zone read based passing. And Trojans have had trouble with offense. And Trojans have had trouble with that in the past. So if we can do that, we'll do it like we have before. And they always struggle with it. And also, Anu Solomon used to be someone who was more of a passing, threw more of a passing offense. But he showed during the Oregon game that he ran that ball. And he now shows that he can play a variety of things. So it depends how USC is going to train for that. And this is also the first time that Arizona has really had to play in the spotlight. They've gone into every game being someone that's always rated, below and not kind of looked on as an underdog, but no one actually thinks they're going to win. And even for this game, USC is favored. So maybe not. They both have to come in ready to fight.
Yeah, it's a big difference to be the hunter compared to the hunted. So Arizona's, they got the big circle on their chest right now. Let's see if they can handle the pressure.
Yeah.
Well, the game against the Trojans is Arizona's family weekend game. We will have live pregame coverage down on the field as well as postgame coverage with reactions from the press conference. You can catch these Saturday night right here on our YouTube channel, UATVCH3. Kickoff has been scheduled for 7:30 at Arizona Stadium, and if you are unable to make it, the game will be nationally televised on ESPN2. Hey, remember how there's an elite men's basketball team at this school too? Well, Friday was our chance to get to talk to some players and hear from head coach Sean Miller at Arizona Basketball Media Day. We'll show you our exclusive interviews with TJ McConnell, Kaleb Tarczewski, and Gabe York. Plus, you'll see highlights of Coach Miller's press conference. Stick with us as we return with more Channel 3 Sports.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
Hi, it's David Hasselhoff, the Hoff. Get Hoff with UATV. Stay tuned. Don't change the dial.
Priority number one at Arizona this year is to have a team that clearly is about playing for the University of Arizona, that's comprehensively all in, trying their best to do what we as a staff and we as a group have decided is in our best interest of winning.
In just a couple weeks, Arizona basketball will be tipping off its 2014 season with the annual Red versus Blue game on October 18th. In March, the Wildcats made it all the way to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, where they fell in a heartbreaker to Wisconsin. Just over a few months after, power forward Aaron Gordon became the second one-and-done of the Sean Miller era when he was selected with the 4th overall pick by the Orlando Magic in the 2014 NBA Draft. Also, Nick Johnson decided to forego his senior campaign at Arizona, and the versatile guard was drafted to the Houston Rockets in the 2nd round. Still, even with Gordon and Johnson gone, Miller believes he has the veteran presence to make a run for the national championship.
So we have a lot of the same parts, or a lot of, I think, crucial parts to the previous teams that return, and I think to a man, each one of them is better, more experienced. In some ways, they will pick right up where they left off, and I think in other ways that they're poised and positioned to have a very good season.
Ranked by ESPN as the nation's 6th best, once again, Miller has put together an elite recruiting class for 2014. The group is headlined by 5-star forward Stanley Johnson with 3 other 4-star recruits in point guard Parker Jackson-Cartwright, plus big men Craig Victor and Dusan Ristic. Arizona will also have more depth at guard after Miller brought Hutchinson Community College transfer Kadeem Allen.
You have an influx of new players, a talented group of guys who haven't been here before. There are 5 of them that I think in their own right, potentially, it remains to be seen, but I think it could play out where they could actually make our team this season deeper than we would have been a year ago, or maybe even 2 years ago.
As usual, Miller has a team loaded with talent, but he made sure to note that not all of them will get playing time. Still, all the Wildcats will have a chance to prove they deserve to be on the court. But it's not going to start with the games. Not the games. Not the games. I'm talking about practice.
I don't know if we're going to play 9. That remains to be seen. But just because we have a lot of players that are talented or have done things before they got here doesn't mean that they get a chance to play in the games.
For the past 3 seasons, Nick Johnson provided a spark for Arizona basketball that no one else could at that high of a level. Play lights-out defense and knock down clutch jump shots, seemingly at will. According to Coach Miller, that presence won't be lost completely with how much junior guard Gabe York has improved.
I believe he's poised to take the next step himself, and that is to be able to score in a variety of ways, to kind of pick up where Nick left off as a defender, where we can trust him more defensively and where he's even better in that area. So Gabe's going to be a big part of things this year.
UATV Channel 3 sports reporter Justin Spears talked with York at Media Day about what we can expect from him this season.
New season, new beginning. What are you looking to bring to this year's team?
Just being a complete scorer. I think on the offensive end, I'm not going to just be a three-point shooter. I'm obviously going to shoot the ball, and, I'm going to do everything that the team needs me to do. But, just as an aspect of my basketball game, I've worked on everything. So I think being a more complete basketball player. Also defensively, if coach needs me to guard the best defender, I'm going to go out there and do that. I try to pride myself over the offseason to become a great defender, work on lateral movements and stuff. So, Coach Miller helped me with that, and he has confidence in me to be able to guard the other team's best player game in and game out.
Now, last year, obviously, you're a part of a rotation of great players. This year, you guys add more players. Coach Miller said we could possibly see 9 guys getting in on the floor throughout games. What's it like to have more depth, and that way you guys are more fresh as a team throughout the season?
Well, not even just that. In practice, we become more competitive. If coach is talking about, if these first 6 guys have made a huge gap in practice between 7, 8, and 9, I might just play 6. You know what I mean? And him saying that, that brings up a fire if you're a competitive person at all. Okay, well, I want to be one of those 6, 7, 8, or 9 guys if it comes to that. And, practice is intense. And we've only had team workouts. We haven't even started practice yet. And, it's ridiculous to see how fired up we are day in and day out to become such a great team and be those basketball players who are out there actually performing and playing for this team.
Wildcat point guard TJ McConnell came over from Duquesne 3 years ago, already one of college basketball's premier point guards. McConnell returns as Arizona's floor general, making him Coach Miller's first ever point guard to start 2 consecutive seasons.
We, as a staff, I think his teammates, we believe in TJ. I think he's one of the best players that plays his position in the country. How tall he is, how long his arms are, how high he jumps, how much he shoots. you know, that's people's opinion, but I know the impact that he has here for our team, and I don't know if there's a more important player in our program than him.
At Media Day, I got a chance to catch up with TJ and ask him about his jump shot that he will have to use more this year to take pressure off of Gabe York.
Last year, you said you felt your jump shot was underrated, and it came through for you many times. What have you done over the offseason to improve that jump shot, and what's your thoughts on it going into this season?
I know people don't respect my jump shot, and they go under screens. So I've just been trying to work on coming off screens when they go under, and just to make them pay for it. And I've been working on that a lot.
Now, last year there was a lot of alley-oops tossed up because you guys had Aaron Gordon, a lot of flashy plays done close to the basket. What's going to be the style of play this season? Is it going to be as flashy or maybe more traditional style play?
I don't see our style of play changing. We'd like to be the #1 defensive team in the country like we were last year, and if we can get stops on defense, I don't see our style of play changing, when we get in the fast break.
TJ, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miller also said Friday it will be important to get the rock in the hands of junior center Kaleb Tarczewski for the offense to get better. The 7-foot Tarczewski averaged 2 more shots per game last season from his freshman campaign. In 2014, Miller wants his shot total to increase again.
As a team, we have to do a better job of getting the ball to him in scoring position. And I don't mean 10 times a game more. That's unrealistic. And maybe if I'd said 2 or 3 times a game, it doesn't sound like much, but it's a big difference. I think being able to get him the ball in and around the basket is not only good for him, but it's great for Arizona.
That means that Zeus will be shooting just under 10 times per game. Zoe talked with him about what he must do to improve his play this year at Media Day.
What's something that last year you feel like you struggled a little bit with and you want to make sure that it's better this year? Maybe through the games it gets better and really improves on and it's noticeable to not just you but to everyone else watching?
I think there's 2 things that I've really focused on. One is rebounding. I think I need to be a better rebounder for this coming year. And the second is being a little more fluid on offense. I think that comes with a lot of things, obviously being more comfortable with my footwork in the post, developing that little jump shot, and then being more kind of fluid in the offense.
So losing Nick Johnson, which is a huge 3-point shooter, have you been working any more on that? Because I know Gabe York had definitely last year kind of came through with that, and obviously TJ McConnell has ability to take a few steps out and shoot from the arc, but are you working on that at all, or was coach telling you to step up and do that?
I think for me, I might take 1 or 2 this year, but that's not where I'm the best. I'm a post player, I'm a post scorer. I think that's really going to be important. Developing a mid-range game, I think, is good to just kind of create spread the floor a little bit. I think that with the new guys this year coming in, Kadeem, Stanley, those guys, Parker, they're all great 3-point shooters, and obviously with TJ and Gabe coming back, and I think we're going to be fine in the 3-point department.
All right, analysts, so the season hasn't started yet, and so really at this point, it's too early to tell. But from what we see now, what are your overall impressions of this team on paper?
On paper, they're really talented. You're looking at a guy like Kaleb Tarczewski who's going into that junior year. You're hoping he's going to put on some weight, and I think that's why, and some strength. I think that's why the nation has made them the 16. ESPN has made them the 6th team in the country, and they've been voted #1 in the country as well. So on paper, look good. Maybe not as veteran as they've been in years past, but just as talented, maybe more talented with guys like Stanley Johnson coming in.
Yeah, I think when people say, oh, they're going to be so bad because Aaron Gordon is left, Stanley Johnson's coming in who has a body like him, plays like him, and, might be even better than him. We won't know, but he's definitely been a top, name and a big name in our program so far, and so it's going to be great to see how he performs. Also, big players like Kaleb Tarczewski, Brandon Ashley, he's healthy and he's back, and TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell was great last year. Arizona finally got a true point guard, and then he comes in and, he just blew everyone out of the water. He's a great team player. He's a playmaker. He can also shoot from the three. He can shoot threes. He can shoot everywhere. He's just great. And so I think Arizona is going nowhere but up for this season.
And I think it's a big point to make is with T.J. McConnell going to that senior year and his second year in the Pac-12, coming from Duquesne, it's a different kind of conference. So for him to get in that second year in the system, what a phenomenal job he did last year. And I think Wildcat fans are expecting even more this season. But yeah, you get like Brandon Ashley going into his junior year. These guys are big, lengthy guys. They're expected to play at the next level, but they need to add that weight, get a little more experience. So this could be the team Arizona fans have been waiting for to finally make that big push for a national championship.
Well, once again, a reminder that the Cats hit the hardwood for the first time this season, October 18th, for the annual Red versus Blue game. If you hadn't already bought a ticket or reserved your seat in the Zona Zoo, it's too late unless you pay someone who has a ticket a lot of money. When we come back, we'll have an Arizona soccer update, and Wildcat hockey captain Shane Gleason joins us after these messages. You are watching Channel 3 Sports on UATV3.
Are you impatient with waiting so long for your food? Are you sick and tired of all these lines? Well, wait no longer, my fellow U of A students. At U of A, we now sponsor Tap & Go. Tap & Go is a mobile solution for avoiding all these lines. Tap & Go will start to prepare your food as soon as you submit your order and text you as soon as it's ready. And guess what? Tap & Go also works with delivery. Just tell Tap & Go where you are and he'll bring it right to you. So what are you waiting for? Just sign up with Tap & Go and you'll never have to worry about lines ever again. Make a new best friend today.
We're glad to be back with you on Channel 3 Sports. I'm your host, Joey Petrello. The football squad wasn't the only Wildcat team to go duck hunting this past week, and the Ducks weren't the only Oregon-based team to leave Tucson without scoring a goal. UATV Channel 3 Sports reporter Jake Kavanaugh has more on a perfect week for Arizona soccer.
Arizona Wildcats women's soccer started off the weekend great with a 2-0 victory over the Oregon State Beavers. The story of the day was the defense, which didn't allow any shots on the goal.
We pretty much shut them down, and although they were physical, we held them back.
Even though the Wildcats played ruthless defense, the offense had its moments as well. Forward Caitlin Lopez had a goal in the 19th minute, and center fielder Schaefer Skadson had a goal in the 58th minute. It was enough to take care of the Beavers, but the team understands that the offense needs to be more productive and take advantage of opportunities. The Wildcats felt like they had a lot of chances they missed out on. Head coach Tony Amato said, "We scored a lot of goals in our time that we've been here, so it's never been, oh, we're in a scoring drought, we can't do this. It's just sometimes you have games where it's difficult to score every chance you get."
You know, we've scored a lot of goals in our time that we've been here, so it's never been, oh, we're in a scoring drought and can't do it. It's just sometimes you have games where it's difficult to score every chance you get.
After a 2-0 victory over the Oregon State Beavers on Friday and a 1-0 victory over the Oregon Ducks Sunday, Arizona Wildcat fans have a lot to be excited about. From a defensive standpoint, Sunday's game was similar to the win over the Beavers. Here at home, we just defend hard. That's kind of been our forte since Tony took over, and we take pride in all of our defending. We work a lot on our positioning during practices, situational techniques on when you should step and when you should cover and all those types of things. Just knowing tactically where we should be really helps us, and just defending hard on top of it, said defender Michaelin Rosenquist. How Sunday's matchup differed from the game against the Beavers was that it was a lot more physical. The Wildcats had 17 fouls, while the Ducks had 7, plus Caitlin Wong's yellow card in the 64th minute. Throughout the match, players were expressing their competitiveness to the referees, but Rosenquist acknowledged that it's just a part of the game.
There are plenty of calls that should have gone the other way, but you can't control the referee, so you just kind of have to deal with it and play to their game and just keep defending hard like we always do. So.
Oh, we have a great group of players, and they're all good girls, and we all work hard for each other. So I think that's why that's our foundation, and that's what we're doing moving forward as well.
After this weekend, Arizona's women's soccer has moved to 2-1-0 in the Pac-12. I'm Jake Kavanaugh, UATV.
Over the weekend, Wildcat hockey kicked off week 2 of its young season, traveling to Lynchburg, Virginia to face an ACHA elite in the Liberty Flames. Arizona fell 8-0 in Game 1, but provided a much better second effort the next day. The two teams split the series 1 game apiece after Arizona rallied down 3 goals to tie the game at 5, and then won 6-5 in a shootout on Saturday. Here to recap an exciting weekend on the ice with us in the studio is captain of the Wildcats, Shane Gleason. Shane, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Joey.
So Shane, just kind of take me through that second game. Obviously the first one was tough, 8-0 loss, but you guys find yourselves down by 3. What happens from there?
The guys show a lot of heart coming back, especially for that being our only second ACHA game, and against a team like Liberty, like you said, it's kind of a tough task. So, we just dug down deep, and the boys were relentless. So it kind of showed our character and some of our true colors and what we have and what we can be this year. So it's exciting.
Now, you said you were hit and taken out of that game early. How did your teammates respond to that?
Our first goal of the whole weekend was to stay disciplined. We knew that Liberty, they tend to take penalties and they kind of take themselves out of the game. So they were very disciplined. Of course, when they kind of saw me go down, they were pretty riled up. And like you said, they came back from 3 goals in the third period. So I think they responded pretty well, and it was pretty awesome to watch.
Now, you talk about that philosophy of discipline. You guys have a new head coach this year, Chad Berman. He comes over from Robert Morris University, who fell in the final round of the ACHA National Tournament to ASU. What's kind of it been like with him as the new head coach after having Sean Hogan for the past 3 seasons?
It was kind of hard to see Coach Hogan go, but Coach Berman's come in here and he's been great, ever since day one. It was kind of a good selling point that he already had that hate for ASU. So, we were kind of excited for that. Like you said, losing to them in the championship, that cut him deep. So he's pretty happy to have another couple shots at him this year. And he's a real player's coach. It's been pretty refreshing. And so far, all the guys love him. So he's been a real breath of fresh air.
Now, you guys are going to get a crack at ASU. This weekend, you head up to Tempe, and you and I both know that's a very, very good hockey program. They are the national champions of last year. So what is your plan of attack for this weekend? And are you going to be okay to play in the game after getting knocked out last week?
Yeah, this stuff's kind of day to day. That's not, unfortunately, it's something that we just kind of have to put on the back burners, that I have to put on the back burners, and just worry about our next task at hand, which is ASU. So, again, our first task is going to be to stay disciplined. Disciplined, not taking penalties, but disciplined in our systems too. Coach Berman's got a good game plan, and as long as we stick to our game plan, we'll be able to give them a run for their money.
In what ways are Berman and Hogan different?
They're different in quite a few ways. Namely, just the way they handle their players. Coach Hogan was, more of a kind of guy who, not intimidating, but the players were kind of like, what's he thinking, this and that. Why am I not playing, stuff like that. And Coach Berman, he's like, hey, he's a player's coach. He's like, if you guys ever have any questions, come to me. He's been really good for these guys, and especially with such a young team, no mind games with him. So it's been real good.
So Berman is taking the recruits that Hogan brought in, though. How have those young guys been able to adjust to playing for Coach Berman, and has it been an easy transition?
It has. It's been a really easy transition, and because he's so personable that way. A lot of the guys, coming in over the summer, all the recruits, it probably came as a shock to them when Coach Hogan just kind of disappeared. But they came in and they had no problems with him. They've been, since day one, they've just loved Coach Berman. It was kind of like, hey, if this guy would have recruited me, I would have been just as happy as if Coach Hogan did. So it's pretty much all you can ask,
So you guys haven't had an opportunity to practice at the Tucson Convention Center yet, your home ice arena. You've been traveling to Chandler. Anytime you want to get that on-ice practice, how tough has that been, practicing for tough teams like Liberty, and now you're going to have to play ASU with all that limited practice time and not being able to go over your game plan on your own home ice?
Yeah, I think Liberty honestly had more games than we had practices. Yeah, but it's been quite a challenge. But having said that, we realize when we go out on the ice, it's no messing around. It's business. It's time to work, and for that hour and a half that we have twice a week up in Chandler, it's hard work out there, and we're using it to our full advantage. And we're in the weight room and doing stuff, while we're here, taking advantage. and trying to be positive about, the situation that we're in. But yeah, it definitely is tough. So aside from that, when we go out there for games, it's just, like we said, staying disciplined to our systems to make sure that we play within ourselves and don't try to do too much, because then, it's when we kind of get sloppy.
Walk me through a typical week of being on the hockey team, because it's a club sport here, so a lot of people may not know what it's like to be a part of that team. What's the time commitment, and especially what is it like to have to drive all the way to Chandler and then come home late at night after hockey practice, then be ready for school the next day?
Yeah, that's tough, and especially for some of those freshmen and sophomores with 8 a.m.s. That's not too awesome. But we have a 6-day week commitment. Sunday's our only day off. We'll have workouts. Monday we just had a workout, 4 to 5 p.m. Tuesday we'll have 6:30 a.m. workouts, and then Wednesday, Thursday are those days that we're up in Chandler practicing. So, bus leaves here at 5 o'clock for those practices. We don't get back until about midnight. And a lot of guys are, scrambling to get stuff done, homework on the bus. So that's where you get a lot of the stuff done. And that's where, kind of believe it or not, that's where a lot of team bonding goes on too. So it's kind of been good for us in kind of weird kind of sense. So.
All right, Shane, one last question, and then we got to let you go.
All right.
You are a senior this year. This is your last hurrah in an Arizona Wildcat sweater.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sweater.
Yep,
Hockey.
it's a sweater.
What is your number one goal for this year besides winning the national championship?
Ooh, I think our team goal, aside from winning the national championship, is just to be the most cohesive team that we can. If we can come together and be brothers on and off the ice, then, there'll be no telling where we can take this team. So to come together as one solid group and, be a family pretty much is our number one goal.
Awesome. Well, Shane, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that.
Hey, thank you, Joey.
This weekend, Wildcat hockey travels north to face the defending national champions, Arizona State. The first home game is October 24th against Liberty at the Tucson Convention Center, where you can catch Shane and company live in action. Until then, we finish the show off with a game of 30 seconds. Nick and Zoe are back with us when we return to Channel 3 Sports on UATV.
I'm Derek Williams, your former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
All right, David Hasselhoff, the Hoff. Get Hoff with UATV. Stay tuned. Don't change the dial.
Well, it's been fun, but we gotta run. It's time to play 30 seconds. In this game, the analysts and I each have 30 seconds to voice our opinion on any topic in sports of our choosing. Zoe, start us off.
Well, it's my favorite time of the year. It's postseason in baseball, and I like to call that Red October because I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. And I just want to talk about the game on Friday night. It was Game 1 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, and they pitched Kershaw, their best pitcher. And when I started watching, I got out of class late, and the Cardinals were down 6-1. And by the 7th inning, they had come back and were winning 10-6. And we totally blew out Kershaw. He had no idea what to do, but we're going to win. I'm overtime.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
I'm going to talk about Johnny Manziel. So he continues to sit on the sideline for the Cleveland Browns. He was on the sideline for Texas A&M when the Browns had their bye week. And at the first half of the Cleveland Browns game between the Tennessee Titans, it looked like Johnny might get a shot. Browns were down 28-10. At one point, they were down 28-3. But Brian Hoyer saved the day. He came back, brought the Browns back. They won the game 29-28. It's the biggest comeback in NFL history for a road team. And I don't know if Johnny's going to see the field for a long time. As you can remember, it was a quarterback competition in the summer and during training camp. But Brian Hoyer, the veteran, has taken the reins, and he's done a pretty good job. Got the Browns at 2-2.
Yeah, it looks like his job for now is at least pretty secure.
Not the worst thing in the world to have him sit for a bit.
Johnny definitely has some time to improve, though, not only his game, but maybe his maturity as well.
This jersey brought in a lot of money regardless for the organization.
About top 5 in this NFL for jersey sales at any point.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wrap things up. If this was 2006, take me back to 8th grade, and you told me the way the baseball playoff is right now, the Orioles and the Royals in the American League Championship Series, are you kidding me right now? The Yankees out of the playoffs, Boston at the bottom of the AL East, Derek Jeter retiring. This has been such a crazy season of Major League Baseball, and now someone representing the American League in the World Series is either going to be the Kansas City Royals or the Baltimore Orioles. That is crazy.
I'm hoping for a St. Louis Cardinals, Kansas City Royals World Series rematch from 1985, where the worst call
Battle
in
of
baseball.
Missouri.
Well, kind of, but the worst call in baseball history
I think
was made.
American baseball, I'm telling you, it needs to be like Mexican baseball. Mexican baseball is the funnest thing on the planet. Went to a couple of Mexican baseball games this weekend. I felt like I was in the heart of Mexico. Mariachi bands, people are dancing. It's lively. Normal baseball. I know it's even playoffs. It's like blind.
It's an American classic.
Yeah, football
Are
is
you-
America's pastime now. I don't know. Baseball is just boring.
Well, that concludes this week's episode. On behalf of Zoe Wolkowitz and Nick Nolenberger, I'm Joey Petrello. A cordial thanks for watching, and we hope you tune in again next week. This is Channel 3 Sports on UATV.